Justice was still around. He became a regular visitor to the river. He would come with gifts, beautiful ornaments, colorful fabrics, and sometimes human food like bread and fruits, which Rio found fascinating. Though she couldn't eat them, she loved the effort Justice put into making her feel special. Rio's laughter echoed through the waters each time Justice arrived. They shared stories, laughed about their adventures, and made plans for things they'd never experienced together. But Rio's happiness was short-lived. Her fiancé, Kanu, the strongest and most respected merman in their kingdom, began to notice her frequent absences. One day, while swimming through the reef, Kanu caught sight of Rio talking to Justice by the riverbank. The sight of the two of them, laughing like old friends, sent waves of jealousy through his heart. Who is this human she spends so much time with? Kanu muttered, his chest tightening with anger. The next day, Kanu approached Rio as she sat in her coral palace brushing her hair. Rio, Kanu began, his voice calm but with a hint of tension. Who is that human you've been meeting by the river? Rio froze for a moment, then turned to him, trying to remain composed. His name is Justice. He's a friend, she said lightly, avoiding his piercing gaze. A friend? A human friend? Do you not know the dangers of mingling with their kind? Kanu's voice rose slightly. Rio sighed. Kanu, Justice is different. He saved my life, and I owe him a great deal. He has been kind and has shown me nothing but respect. Kanu's face darkened. You owe him nothing more than gratitude, Rio. Spending too much time with humans can only bring trouble. I won't allow it. Rio frowned. Allow it? Kanu, you do not control me. Justice is my friend, and I will see him if I wish to. Kanu clenched his fists but said nothing further. He swam away, but his mind churned with thoughts of what he'd seen. A few days later, Justice returned to the river with a beautiful pearl necklace he had bought in the city. He wanted to thank Rio for changing his life and for being such a wonderful friend. Rio! He called out from the riverbank, holding up the necklace. Rio swam up quickly, her face lighting up when she saw him. Justice! What a pleasant surprise! She climbed onto a rock near the riverbank, her tail shimmering in the sunlight. Justice handed her the necklace, and her eyes sparkled with joy. This is so beautiful, Justice. Thank you, she said, running her fingers over the smooth pearls. As they talked and laughed, neither noticed Kanu hiding behind the reeds, his eyes burning with jealousy. He watched the two with clenched teeth, his mind racing. This human thinks he can steal Rio from me? Kanu thought. I'll show him the strength of a merman. The next time Justice came to the river, Kanu was waiting. Rio hadn't arrived yet, and Justice sat on a rock near the water, skipping stones and humming a tune. Suddenly, the water began to bubble and churn. Before Justice could react, Kanu emerged, towering above him. You! Kanu growled, pointing a sharp trident at Justice. Justice stumbled backward, startled by the fierce merman's sudden appearance. Ah! Hello! Justice said cautiously. You dare come to this river and speak with Rio? Do you not know she is promised to me? Kanu's voice boomed. Justice raised his hands in defense. I mean no harm. Rio is my friend. That's all. Kanu's eyes narrowed. A human and a mermaid cannot be friends. Leave now and never return. Justice, though intimidated, stood his ground. Rio has the right to choose her friends. You can't control her. Kanu roared in anger and lunged at Justice with his trident. Justice barely dodged the attack, stumbling as the trident struck the rock behind him. Kanu, stop! Rio's voice rang out as she swam up to the scene. Kanu turned to her, his face twisted with rage. Rio, this human is a danger to our kind. He must leave and never return. Rio swam between Kanu and Justice, shielding Justice with her body. Kanu, you're wrong. Justice is no danger. He's my friend, and I will not let you harm him. Kanu's anger boiled over. Friendship with humans brings nothing but destruction. Rio, do you not care about our people? I care about you and our people, Kanu, but Justice saved my life when no one else could. He's proven himself trustworthy, Rio said firmly. Kanu hesitated, his grip on the trident loosening. He looked at Rio, then at Justice, and growled in frustration. This is not over, Kanu said, disappearing back into the water with a powerful flick of his tail. After Kanu left, Rio turned to Justice, who was still shaken. I'm so sorry about that, she said, helping him to his feet. It's okay, Justice said, brushing off his clothes. But, Rio, is it safe for me to keep visiting you? I don't want to cause trouble. Rio smiled gently. You've done nothing wrong, Justice. I'll handle Kanu. Please don't let this stop you from coming to see me. Justice nodded, though he couldn't shake the feeling that Kanu would return. As Rio swam away, she couldn't help but feel torn. She valued Justice's friendship deeply, but Kanu's jealousy was growing stronger by the day. She knew she had to find a way to make peace between them before things escalated further. Little did she know, Kanu was already planning his next move, one that could change their lives forever. Rio's heart pounded as she swam toward Kanu's coral fortress. She couldn't believe his jealousy had driven him to attack Justice. She knew Kanu was proud and possessive, but this was too far. The shimmering coral palace stood tall in the water, guarded by 2 merman warriors. They recognized Rio immediately and bowed, parting the way for her to enter. She didn't hesitate, gliding into Kanu's grand hall, her face set in determination. Kanu, she called, her voice echoing off the coral walls. Kanu emerged from an adjacent chamber, his trident resting casually against his shoulder. His expression was one of smug satisfaction, as though he had done something noble. Rio, he said, his voice calm but firm. What brings you here? Rio swam closer, her tail flicking with frustration. You know why I'm here. What you did to Justice today was unacceptable. Kanu raised an eyebrow. Unacceptable? Rio, I was protecting you. That human is a threat to our kingdom. Rio's voice rose. A threat? Justice saved my life, Kanu. He's not a danger to me or anyone else. You acted out of jealousy, not protection. Kanu's face darkened. Jealousy? You think I'm jealous of a human? I'm your fiancé, Rio. You're supposed to belong to me, yet you spend your days laughing and talking with some outsider. I belong to no one. Rio snapped, her voice trembling with anger. You do not own me, Kanu. And you certainly don't have the right to decide who I can or cannot be friends with. Kanu slammed the butt of his trident against the coral floor, sending a low vibration through the water. That human doesn't belong in our world. If he returns to the river, I will deal with him. Rio's eyes blazed with fury. You will do no such thing, Kanu. This is my final warning. Stay away from Justice. If you harm him again, you'll regret it. Kanu smirked, leaning on his trident. We'll see about that, won't we? Without another word, Rio turned and swam away, her heart heavy with frustration. She knew Kanu well enough to realize he wouldn't let this go. That same evening, Kanu made his way to Rio's family home, a grand underwater castle made of glittering shells and coral. Rio's parents, King Anu and Queen Mara, were seated in the main hall. Kanu entered, bowing respectfully. Your Majesties, I must speak with you about a matter of great importance. King Anu gestured for him to continue. Speak, Kanu. What troubles you? Kanu straightened, his expression serious. It's about Rio. She has been spending far too much time with a human young man who visits the river. I fear this could bring danger to our kingdom. Queen Mara's eyes widened. A human boy? Rio. Yes, Konu said, his voice heavy with concern. I caught them together by the river today. She has grown close to him, and I believe she is putting herself and our people at risk. The king's face grew stern. This is troubling news, Konu. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. We will speak with Rio about this at once. Before they could summon her, Rio swam into the hall, her expression defiant. She had overheard everything. Don't bother, father. I'm here, she said, crossing her arms. Rio, her father began, is it true? Have you been associating with a human? Yes, it's true, Rio said without hesitation. But justice is not a threat. He saved my life when I was lost, and he has done nothing but help me. I won't let Konu, or anyone else, paint him as a danger. Konu stepped forward. Rio, you're blinded by your affection for this human. You're putting us all at risk for the sake of your so-called friendship. Rio turned to him, her eyes blazing. And you're blinded by your pride and jealousy, Konu. Justice has done nothing to harm anyone. The only one causing trouble here is you. Queen Mara tried to mediate. Rio, we understand your gratitude toward this young man, but Konu may have a point. Humans are unpredictable. They cannot be trusted. Rio shook her head. This isn't about humans, mother. This is about Konu trying to control me. He attacked justice today, unprovoked. Is that what you call protection? King Anu frowned, his gaze shifting to Konu. Is this true, Konu? Did you attack the human? I was acting in the best interest of our kingdom, Konu said defensively. The boy needed to be warned. Rio stepped closer to Konu, her voice low but firm. Warned? You threatened his life, Konu. And I'm telling you now, if you ever lay a hand on justice again, I will never forgive you. Kanu's jaw tightened. You're making a mistake, Rio. That human doesn't belong in our world. If he returns to the river, he will be dealt with. Rio's voice rose. If you harm justice, Kanu, you'll lose me forever. The room fell silent, the weight of her words hanging in the water like a storm cloud. Kanu stared at her, his pride warring with his emotions. What are you saying, Rio? I'm saying I'm done, Rio said, her voice steady. I'm done with your jealousy, your control, and your threats. I'm no longer interested in being your fiancé. Kanu's face twisted in disbelief and anger. You're ending our engagement. For a human? This isn't about justice, Rio said. This is about me. I deserve to choose my own path, my own friends, and my own happiness. And you, Konu, are not part of that anymore. Kanu's trident trembled in his grip, but he said nothing. With one last glare, he turned and swam out of the castle, leaving Rio standing tall and unyielding. Later that night, Rio sat by her window, staring out at the vast ocean. Her heart was heavy, but she knew she had made the right choice. She couldn't allow Kanu's jealousy to dictate her life. Meanwhile, Kanu swam deep into the dark trenches of the ocean, his mind consumed by thoughts of revenge. He wasn't going to let Rio's decision go unanswered. As the tides shifted, so did the balance of peace in the underwater kingdom. And unbeknownst to Rio, her choice would set off a chain of events that would change her life, and the lives of everyone she loved, forever. Justice couldn't resist the pull of the river. Ever since he met Rio, his life had changed, and he felt connected to her in a way he couldn't explain. Despite the warnings he'd received and the danger that seemed to follow, he returned to the riverbank, carrying a small gift for Rio, a wooden bracelet he had carved himself. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the water as Justice sat near the river, skipping stones and waiting for Rio. The air was calm, and the gentle ripples of the river made him feel at peace. Rio, he called softly, hoping she would hear him. But before Rio could appear, a dark shadow emerged from the water. It was Kanu, his trident gleaming ominously under the fading light. "You again," Kanu growled, his voice low and threatening. Justice turned, startled, and stood up. "I'm just here to see Rio. I don't want any trouble." Kanu's face twisted into a sneer. "You are the trouble, human. You've done enough to disrupt our world. It's time to put an end to this." Before Justice could react, Kanu lunged at him, grabbing him with his powerful arms and pulling him into the water. Justice struggled, gasping for air, but Kanu's grip was too strong. Days passed, and Justice's mother began to worry. He hadn't returned home, and it wasn't like him to stay out late. She walked around the village, asking neighbors if they had seen him. "Have you seen my son, Justice?" she asked a group of women gathered near a fire. One of the women looked up and said, "The last time I saw him, he was heading toward the river." Justice's mother's heart sank. "The river?" "Yes, I saw him walking in that direction earlier today," the woman confirmed. Panic gripped Justice's mother as she hurried toward the river, her wrapper tied tightly around her waist. Tears streamed down her face as she reached the water's edge. "Justice!" she cried, her voice echoing across the still water. "Justice, where are you?" She collapsed onto her knees, her hands trembling as she sobbed uncontrollably. "My son. Where is my son?" Rio was swimming nearby when she heard the cries. Concerned, she swam to the surface and saw Justice's mother at the riverbank, crying and calling his name. Rio's heart tightened with worry as she emerged from the water. "Madam, what's wrong?" Rio asked gently. Justice's mother gasped and stepped back, startled to see a mermaid. It was Rio. But when she saw the concern on Rio's face, she managed to speak. "It's my son, Justice," she said between sobs. "He's missing. Someone said he came to the river, but he hasn't returned home." Rio's chest tightened. "Justice? He was here." "Yes," the woman replied, wiping her tears. "Please, have you seen him? Did he come to see you?" Rio shook her head, her tail flicking nervously. "No, I haven't seen him today. But don't worry, I'll find him. I promise." Without another word, Rio dove back into the water, her mind racing. The only person she could think of who might have taken Justice was Kanu. Rio swam as fast as she could to Kanu's coral fortress. Her tail cut through the water like a blade, and her heart pounded with both fear and anger. When she arrived, the guards stopped her at the entrance. "I need to see Kanu," she demanded. "He's busy," one of the guards replied. "This is urgent." Rio snapped, pushing past them and swimming into the grand hall. Kanu was lounging on his coral throne, his trident resting beside him. He looked up as Rio stormed in, her eyes blazing with fury. "Kanu!" she shouted. "Where is Justice?" Kanu's expression remained calm, but there was a flicker of something in his eyes. Guilt, perhaps, or satisfaction. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, leaning back in his throne. "Don't lie to me," Rio shouted, swimming closer. "I know you took him. Where is he?" Kanu's face hardened. "Even if I did take him, it would be for the good of our kingdom. That human doesn't belong here." Rio's hands curled into fists. "Justice has done nothing wrong. He's my friend, and you had no right to take him." Kanu stood, his trident in hand. "He's a danger to you, Rio. Can't you see that? Humans are unpredictable. They only bring destruction. I'm protecting you." Rio glared at him, her voice trembling with anger. "This isn't about protection. This is about your jealousy. You can't stand the thought of me caring about someone other than you." Kanu stepped closer, his voice low and dangerous. "You're right. I can't stand it. But it doesn't matter anymore. That human is gone, and he's not coming back." Rio's heart sank. "What have you done, Kanu? Where is Justice?" Kanu smirked. "Let's just say he won't be bothering us anymore." Rio's eyes filled with tears, but her expression remained defiant. "You'll regret this, Kanu. I swear on the ocean itself. You'll regret it." Without waiting for a response, Rio turned and swam away, her mind racing with plans to save Justice. She knew she had to act quickly, but she also knew she couldn't do it alone. As Rio swam back to her family's home, she thought about what to do next. She would need help to find and rescue Justice, but she wasn't sure who she could trust. When she arrived, her mother, Queen Mara, noticed her distress. "Rio, what's wrong?" her mother asked, swimming over to her. "It's Justice," Rio said, her voice trembling. "He's missing, and I think Kanu has him." Queen Mara's face grew serious. "Kanu? Are you certain?" Rio nodded. "He didn't admit it, but I know he's responsible. I need to find Justice before it's too late." The Queen placed a hand on Rio's shoulder. "We'll help you, my daughter. You won't face this alone." Rio nodded, her determination growing. She would stop at nothing to save Justice, no matter what it took. Meanwhile, deep in the trenches of the ocean, Justice was being held in an underwater cave, guarded by 2 mermen loyal to Kanu. The cave was dark and cold, and Justice shivered as he sat against the damp walls, his hands tied with seaweed. He couldn't understand why this was happening to him. All he wanted was to see Rio, his friend, and now he was trapped in a place he didn't understand. "I have to get out of here," Justice muttered to himself, his mind racing with ideas. As he struggled against his bonds, he thought of Rio. He knew she would come for him, and he held on to that hope like a lifeline. Rio, meanwhile, was gathering her allies and preparing to confront Kanu. She wouldn't let him get away with what he had done, and she wouldn't rest until Justice was safe. The battle for Justice's freedom was just beginning. Please stick to this channel for more episodes. Help share and also drop your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching.